Hey everyone, I wanted to talk about this idea that I've been kind of obsessed with, and I just took some time today to lay out all the examples that I know of, which help to illustrate this idea. And I call it the swipe file strategy for part time creators. And mainly, this is something I'm not trying to sell you on it, I just am figuring this out as I go along, but I really am convinced that there's something here. It's a simple strategy that helps you slow cook a $300,000 a year side project and kickstarts your indie hacker career with a few hours a week. This sounds like a snake oil thing. I know how this sounds. It's so simple that you're sort of growing on autopilot. This is a Twitter account that over 2 years has grown to 110,000 Twitter followers for comparatively little tweets. And email subscribers that are just growing automatically. And these are all real numbers, and these come from swipe files. So what is a swipe file? Swipefiles.com defines it as a swipe file is a collection of marketing and copywriting examples to use for inspiration. Every marketer needs their own swipe file. Swipe file is a game changer. So you can learn more about this from here, but that's a marketing focused site. My assertion to you by the end of this YouTube, whatever we're calling this, is that everyone needs a swipe file, and it's beyond marketing and copywriting. You can use swipe files for everything. So let's talk a little bit about what I've been finding or seeing obsessive. First of all, some justification on numbers. Really Good Emails, which is a swipe file, is launching a CEO hunt, which is kind of what sparked off this current phase of obsession. From January to May this year, they made $80,000. In 2020, they made $370,000. Obviously, this year, they'll probably make a bit more, hopefully. Actually, that's not net income versus revenue. There is a difference there. Anyway, these are all real numbers. They publish everything, and they're looking for someone to hire, so they're not going to lie. The main thing that you want to learn here is their newsletter is that they're just kind of growing automatically, which is just, this is exactly the kind of curve that you want for the hardest thing to acquire, which is an email base. So what is a swipe file? This is a swipe file that is dedicated just for open graph images. Very, very simple, like the social media unfurls that you see when you paste a link. Some people have done a really good job of this. I think this is a fantastic job. It's simple, and it shows the value proposition right in the OG image, and that's what you want. There's no commentary whatsoever. You just shows you related examples, and you visit a website. And of course, you can subscribe, right? Which is a nice little weekly recap thing. So this is somebody's side project, and you're just adding to it, but it's always relevant, and it's from content that you're not technically creating yourself, you're just curating it. And it's just a simple, brilliant way to make something beautiful on very, very little time. What can you do with this? How can you take it to the next level? Here is swipefile.com, no S, so swipe file, not swipe files. Here is Neil Medora's example of what a swipe file is. He's got classifications like a framework or ads, editorials. This is just stuff that he can pull from at any point in time. He adds a little commentary. So over here, he has one sentence of commentary. That's about it. And everything else is the same as OG images, and he's got recommended reads and all that. I don't believe these numbers, these dates are correct. September 1st, August 17th. They seem a little bit formulaic. But we'll see. I definitely think that this is an example of something that's pretty easy to just do on a part-time basis, and it builds your expertise, right? So this one doesn't really have a focus. There's just all over the place, whereas this one is focused on OG images. So this is actually much more likely to do well, because people know where it slots within their overall mental model of like where to go for stuff. So you probably want to do something more focused, and you probably want to give some kind of cadence of like, okay, it's coming out on September 1st. So to get the next one, to get notified, I really liked what I have so far, I'm going to put in my email, right? So this one, there's no date. So it's just kind of timeless, which is nice, but also you want to get a sense of urgency of like, why should I get it now rather than I'll just come back whenever I want it. So it doesn't have to be for public experiences. So typically these are marketing, so that this is publicly available by definition. But here you can also catalog logged in experiences, which I really like. These are more for designers, obviously, where like if I'm making an app and I want a reference, I can just go here and step through all the different examples, right? So this is an example of that. I also like this one for empty states, which has an agenda behind it, which is a swipe file, literally for when you don't have any connected accounts, when you have in a list of items, you have 0 items. And this is a state that people typically forget to design for. It can offer delight and actually tell people what to do next. So it's a very, very useful swipe file for that. All right, next part of this progression, it is a progression in the sense of physical training. You get given a sense of progressions from couch to 5K to build your push, pull, and lifts. I think this is a progression for your content. So then you want to start using and exploring tools. This is from a friend, Frederick, who makes Clart. And this is literally a bookmarking tool that helps you build swipe files. Literally, you're on a site, you say, hey, this is really cool. I'm going to click a Chrome extension, and that's going to save right in with my little comment. So you want to build a workflow that helps you create a high volume of content that's high quality, curated, has commentary, all that good stuff. Okay, so then we're going to teardown. So what's different between a teardown and the swipe files that we've seen so far? These are more detailed, right? So here's swipefiles.com from Corey Haynes. This actually was the initial one that sold me on this idea, because not only are you saving examples for people to refer to, you're also walking them through how you break it down, and you can view them and go step by step through sections of their execution, right? And then there's a nice call to action at the end. So this teardown is different from a simple swipe file like the ones that we've seen so far, because it gives some amount of involved commentary rather than a single sentence or single paragraph. This is actually breaking down and highlighting the specific things that they did well. But it's very focused on the specific company, and when I scroll, I don't necessarily know what's coming up next. It's just like a random loot box of just good ideas. So that's not too bad. But really, I think where you really step it up is you turn it into how-tos. So how X does Y is a very common one, but then you can also just have something very interesting. Dave Gerhardt, if you know, you know, he's a very influential marketer, but the key is the one-line sales email. So using titles, like having title game. Here there's no title game. Everything's just something's landing page. You want title game that says, all right, instant click. I gotta know, what is this one-line sales email? And it shows it to you right here. So this is very short, and it's a swipe file for an email. But literally, the goal is to get people to understand, like, this is such a useful, fundamental thing that it stands alone for itself. And definitely that's a service that you're providing, which is the curation, right? Like, you are saying that this is worth it among the grid of 8 things that are on here, and it should be worth it. If it's not, then you're sort of letting your audience down. Okay, that's marketing examples, and by the way, that's also the other one of the initial examples that I started with Twitter channels growing really, really well with not much output. Okay, really good emails. The additional element that you want, so the problem with this one, this is pretty good. There's no search. They care more about newsletter signups than search. But what you don't have is a way to fave your favorite content. And obviously when you fave, you have to log in. So what really good emails does is that they not only are a swipe file for email designs, which are also a very focused problem, which are very well organized, but you can also log in. I've logged in over here, and I can save this one. I can save it to email, and I can save it to my C collection. Awesome. So now I can save that, and they can use that information for things like social recommendations. Saying like, what is the most popular over here, and I get some kind of social filtering. So this is super helpful, and I think that essentially you start building, like, once you have someone's email, then you have their email mean something by saving things to their account. Once you have an account, you want the accounts to talk to each other. So you have a community. This is the community that I run. I use a platform called circle.so. It's basically Facebook groups without Facebook groups for people who don't like Facebook. So that's a really fun thing. And this is my swipe file for Learn in Public. So if anyone wants to go and get some ideas for how to learn in public, they can come in here and get some inspiration. So, okay. The other thing about these platforms is that really, like, this is custom made. This is custom made. This one's also custom made. Like, there's just a lot of heavy lifting, and you're writing serious software. I paid for this, but it's okay. I still haven't solved distribution, right? And you need social media distribution. So sometimes you just want to host a swipe file on a social media platform. So Little Big Details is a swipe file here for UX. But it's built on Tumblr. It's just a Tumblr blog. So people, when they fave it, they have all those logins and signups and comments and blocks and mutes and all the protection stuff that you're eventually going to build with any social network product, all built into Tumblr. And the only thing that you're responsible for is content. So if you want to build it on very little time, you want to borrow a platform from someone else, just keep it in mind that if you didn't build it, you don't run it, it's not yours. So they can be taken away from you at any time. I myself have been locked out of my own Twitter account twice in the past year and a half. So that's it. And then One Page Love is another swipe file for one-page websites, landing pages essentially. And the progression I want to highlight here is that it's basically time to monetize. So first you want to build authority. So you've done all this work. You've collected all the swipe files. You have a running mailing list. You have a growing little audience, and you have people faving stuff, and you have the beginnings of a community. That's really good. You want to start building authority publicly and just going out there, hitting the circuits. Here's Rob Hope of One Page Love talking about just distilling the work that he's already done. Like, he's not doing extra work. It's all in his swipe file. So it's very, very easy for him to just pull out the best of the best that he liked and put it into a very compelling talk. And if people want to go to have more information, where else do they go but his website? Okay, for Harry Dry, he just hit the podcast circuit very hard. So he's just all over every single podcast, and it's just fantastic to watch him do this as a way to raise awareness of his work and bring attention to the original success that he had in a way that brings more success. And success really just compounds like that. It's just a really brutal thing. He started at 38,000, and this was 10 months ago, and now he's at 100 and something, 50K. All right, so that's the rough. I wanted to say other way to monetize. Let's talk about monetization. You can write a book. So Rob turned his landing page hot tips into a book, and you can buy that for $30 or whatever. I read through it. I think it's high quality. And not every lesson is going to apply to you, but enough will that it's going to be worth it. Especially if you sell anything, this is nothing compared to the total amount of sales that you're going to have. Then you want to turn the book into a workshop. So you want to teach a live workshop, and then you want to turn the live workshop into an asynchronous course that's self-guided. So that's the rough progression for creators. All of this done as part-time projects. All of this fairly long game, but fairly simple to execute on because there's so many people like this who've done it, and really it takes someone with taste and with some amount of persistence to execute on this. What if you're not a marketer? You don't work on landing pages, you don't work on design, you don't work on copywriting. What's in this for you? This is also a swipe file. This is a swipe file code. So don't let that stop you in terms of your imagination as to what a swipe file is. And honestly, this video is my swipe file of swipe files, right? Like it's a whole list of ideas of how to do things arranged in some sequential order that helps people that read my blog as to what they can do to get started as an indie creator. I think it's a fantastic strategy, and I personally plan to do more of this myself. So enjoy.